Okay, so I just wanted to do a quick little video on pentatonic shapes and getting outside of the boxes, really. I'm going to be looking away from the screen because I'm reading the charts in this video, and it's going to be a little bit disconcerting to see me gazing like that into the top corner. But I've been pissing about with equipment for about half an hour now, and we're just going to have to deal with it. Go away, GIMP, please. So yeah, basically I've had a bunch of students this week go say something to me along the lines of, I'm having trouble getting outside of the box, the pentatonic box that is, you know, and then when you're sort of moving into your intermediate phase on the guitar, you tend to have this problem with like blues and stuff, and we learn our first position, minor pentatonic, we go, you know, and then we sort of, for a lot of people, that seems to be all they are really interested in doing. And then the ones who want to look a bit further afield, they have very quickly start playing the same old licks, and they get quite frustrated because they can't really progress outside of this. You know, that's why we say you're stuck in the box. We're playing this just the position one, if you look at the chart. So you basically end up with just this one scale, and then you get to, like, you know, you throw in the blues note, and it sounds fine, it sounds great, but the, like, you want to be, if you want to have the full run of the fretboard, that's another thing I keep hearing, is I want freedom or greater freedom on the fretboard. And so if you want that, you have to start memorizing all the possible shapes, like these pentatonics. I'm going to do one on the modes probably. I'm definitely going to do one with minor and major triads over these pentatonic positions. And then it's memorizing all that stuff is how you get to grips with, you know, the more out there concepts, let's say, and you don't just stay in this one box to play these blues licks, because very quickly you're going to hit a wall and you're going to get frustrated. So without the extra shapes, you're going to have a very hard time actually trying to progress. So there's a few things I can show you, like, and the first one I want to begin with is these 5 shapes and getting them memorized. Now, these are all going to be in E minor. So if I'd say start by just following along with me note for note, and then if you want to start playing them over backing tracks and stuff, which I highly recommend because it's the best way to put everything in a musical framework, so to speak. So what we do is we'll start with position 1. Now you'll notice it says 12/open, so we learn the, some people learn it open, like in open form for the first time. I didn't, but then I went back and I did this later. And then what I do is, like, I start with this open position. So this is E minor pentatonic. So now that, I'm not going to say call out the frets for all of these. I want you to just follow along with me on the chart. But this one I will, just because it's the very first one we do, and it's a bit hard to see exactly where I'm going with it. So it's like the open position E minor is open 3, open 2, open 2, open 2, open 3, open 3. And I basically just pick or hammer on going up, and then I pull off going down. Now to begin with, don't try and solo with these. I know it's tempting, but like, spend 10 minutes a day just going over these shapes 1 to 5, 1 to 5, very conservative, and just go until you can play them at a reasonable speed with no mistakes, or few mistakes, let's say. You don't need to be a perfectionist. If I adopt that mindset, I very quickly tend to get frustrated, so I just allow my muscle memory to set in over time. So that is the first one. The second one, you've got the G major position. Now I play it the way that, like, I was taught in school, but like in that example specifically, but I prefer to just use maybe 2 fingers, or optionally that sort of shape, because I just prioritize my stronger fingers. You know, it's up to you what fingers you want to play it with, but if you're having trouble pulling off specific licks, because I like the way you go, then you're on your weaker fingers, and I don't like that. I just go I get down here, my pinky's a bit more amenable, but you know, like just going and then compensating with the stretch. So we move up. Now this next one's rooted on A. So what we have is it's a bit confusing if you just check out the chart. It's a bit confusing because it's marked, the 7th fret is marked, whereas we start on the 5th technically. When we get to this, like this black note you see on the chart, it's black. That is basically your root. So all of these black notes would be E in this case. You've got E, you know, E, 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 E. All of these like notes would be the root. And it would be the same for, if I wanted to do these examples in A, then I would have the same, you know, I would have A notes everywhere, and those would be the black ones. In this case, it is E though. So position 3 goes, there's a step out here, and then step back in on the other side. And then again, I tend to have this thing when I'm explaining them, I play them with the exact fingers, but you can just get away with prioritizing your stronger fingers. And if you can't yet, just practice it, it's fine. Just go through it slow. I play it with 2 fingers, so between my first and my ring finger. So like, if I'm playing something like, I know you're not supposed to bend with your pinky, but occasionally we all do it, it's a thing. So it's like going, at speed it can be a bit fiddly. As I said, just use the fingers you need to use to play the licks you want to play, and adjust accordingly if you have issues. So that's the 3rd one. Now the 4th, very, very similar to the 1st. Think of this as like position 1's interesting cousin. So we're based on the fret 7 now. After a while you do instinctively start to land on the root note. That's the thing you'll find you're doing. You can either memorize exactly where it is, which I do recommend you do, but if you can kind of just follow it by ear. I think if you were playing like B.B. King, probably wouldn't be thinking, oh, I'm going to aim exactly for an E note, but you can tell, you know, he knows that where he's going to go relatively, you know, because you don't need to get into your very theory heavy playing if you just want to say, let's start on an E and let's end on an E using this shape, you know. Didn't start on an E there, but I landed. So if I'm going like E to E, there you go, between E and E. So yeah, little detail there, but back to position 4. The main difference between position 4 and 1 is this note here. And I do tend to use my pinky for that one. And then I go higher, and then there's a little note that comes in here. You play an E minor chord, like an E minor 7 here. That is where your middle finger would land. And then when I'm playing it, I kind of, this one I do tend to use my pinky for. I think I've just gotten used to it. And then after a while, after you've gotten very familiar with these shapes, just start using them to solo. But try not to run before you can walk. It's a problem we all have. I do it too, and when I notice it, I have to force myself to stop and just practice properly, because then you end up with a bit of a messy, you know, half-finished approach to all this. So position 5. And then this one's kind of, you start on 10 and you step out, similar to position 3, but you step out 1 and then again and then back in. And I do use my like 1st and my 3rd finger for this. So yeah. Then you basically go back to position 1, and then like once you realize this, you will really feel the fretboard opening up, and it's a great feeling because you get back to E minor pentatonic, but now you're an octave up. So if we like play our first pentatonic in the 1st position, root position, there, go up to fret 12 and go play position 1 again. Same notes, 1 octave higher. So then you basically, it repeats. Basically, position 1 is on fret 12, position 2 is G major again, but on fret 15 this time. Like that, and then you basically just keep going up, and then you get to position 3 again, fret 17. Like that, and then like, I wish I had my 24 fret guitar, but for this video I thought a Strat would be a bit more appropriate, even if, yeah, so like you run out of frets. But that's the thing, once you've memorized the order, you can start playing, keep an E minor I'd say for now, just to like make it a bit easier for yourself, but start on like position, I'd say just position 1 again here, maybe. That's the one we tend to favour as guitarists. But then once you've actually played all of the positions, just go through them one to like note for note. You know. And then back to 1. And it's hard not to noodle. So like try to combine, like once you've memorized them well enough to your liking, try to combine 2 shapes. The first one people tend to go for is combining position 2 and 1. So like just playing a lick in position 1, then moving into position 2. Like that. Or another good test of like, another like thing you can do is getting outside of the box. So like pick a shape, at box 1 at least, because I'm going to go into another for this example and I'm going to stay there. So it's like pick another position you don't know very well and try and solo in it. If like over a backing track, you can just sit and noodle, but it's kind of important that you do start playing over backing tracks if you don't, or just increase the amount of time you spend practicing over backing tracks, because it puts everything in a nice musical framework and it teaches you, you know, timing and feel and helps you work on that stuff. So it's, I'll pick position 4, right below position 1, we go down, and then we go to the position 4, so. Like that, or position 5, you know. And then I throw in a few accidentals there, but like, you know, just outside notes. But that's the thing, you can work with those. Most people have the flat, they memorize the flat 5 position. Specifically, that's the, that two, like those 2 pairs of notes. And then what you have is you basically have like, you know, you can, they're not flat 5s exactly, but you can find the notes that otherwise don't work if you just adventure around these shapes. They do show up again, because it's like, if you want to look for the specific flat 5s, then you would be, in this case it would be like the A sharp note, like that. Like, so you're basically going like, finding the same ones, but then you can like, they don't really count as blue notes is the slang term we use, but like for example in position 5, this is what I like to refer to as the Eastern note. And then you can basically build them into licks. So then like try and combine that too with just messing around with shapes and smashing them together. So we'll go from position 4 to position 5 this time. Like that. And then once you're like, we'll end on this note. So once you're really like confident with those shapes, do them every single day, 5 to 10 minutes, and just one after the other, note for note. Then just put a backing track on and try and wander around. I'll try, because when I'm soloing with these shapes, I'm not thinking, oh, I'm in position, 5 or whatever. I just end up in a position and my hand memorizes it. Because a classic thing people say is like, oh yeah, I'd love to like memorize all those shapes, but I just can't remember them. How do you remember them? And it's like, I don't. My hand remembers them. It's in my muscle memory specifically. So what we have is like, I just practice them until it goes into my fingers, and then I memorize, when you're playing a song you know very well, you're not thinking about it anymore. It's your reactions have taken over. That's how you need it to feel. That's how you know you've truly memorized something. So if I start in any position, I know I'm in position 2 here, but I just my hand knows it the most, and then my brain is just thinking about the melody. So I just went through a few positions there, like not unthinkingly, because I'm still thinking about the melody, but position switching. If you practice the way I said, you get this sort of this kind of just ability to go through the position. So I go back into position 1 and I get a bit too comfortable, so I have to just force myself to move, And then it's like, not everything you play is going to sound good at this stage, so it's just like getting used to it. Like I tend to struggle when I'm just practicing these licks, let's say nakedly, not over a backing track. But like that's what I'm going to delve into on the next video, I think. For now, you're just basically looking at what notes work. When I've got a bit of music on in the background, it's a bit easier for me to kind of play music, so to speak, rather than just, because these are just the scales for now. What we have is just, I'm trying to move around as much as I can. So you see how I kind of have a bit of freedom on the fretboard. This is an ongoing thing. It's something I'm still working on, but I can use all 5 pentatonic shapes to end up in what area of the neck I please. And I'm not just trapped in this one or these 2 sections. So yeah, I really hope that helps. Just comment, message me if you've got any questions at all.